Get your hands down, Lila, right now, Henry Voss snarled, his voice slicing through the ballroom's crystal chandeliers and silencing the string quartet mid-bow, while his eyes stayed locked on the silver-haired donor across the linen-draped table, never once glancing at his daughter. Lila's fingers, which had darted beneath the tablecloth in two frantic taps, "Help me!" froze mid-motion, then snapped into her lap, knuckles bleaching white against the navy silk of her gown, the fabric crumpling under her grip as if it could swallow her whole. Henry's smile remained plastered, teeth flashing for the donor, while his lips barely parted to hiss, "Smile wider, you're the face of this foundation, not some charity case." His words a whip crack meant only for her ears. The donor leaned in, gold cufflinks glinting under the chandeliers, and boomed, "Henry, your girl's a vision. Does she give speeches at these galas? Inspire the crowd?" While Henry's laugh erupted, too loud, too polished, echoing off marble walls as he declared, "She's in cutting-edge therapy. Voss AI's tech will erase silence. Make every child speak flawlessly." His hand gesturing grandly, dismissing Lila's existence in the same breath. Lila's throat clenched, her gaze dropping to the untouched salmon on her plate, its pink flesh glistening like an open wound under the candlelight, while her chest heaved with breath she couldn't voice. Across the room, Marisol Ortega balanced a silver tray of champagne flutes, her eyes catching Lila's trembling fingers beneath the table. "Help me!" And her heart slammed against her ribs, the tray nearly slipping as she set it down with a clink that cut through the murmur, her apron brushing the donor's elbow as she stepped forward. Henry's head whipped around, his face twisting into a mask of fury, and he barked, "You're not assigned to this table. Step back." But Marisol ignored him, sliding between Lila and the table, her body a shield, her hands rising slow and deliberate to sign, "I see you," the motion slicing the air like a lifeline. Lila's eyes flared wide, a soundless gasp ripping from her chest, her shoulders jerking as if struck, while Henry shoved his chair back, its legs screeching across marble, and roared, "Security! Remove this woman now!" his finger jabbing like a blade toward Marisol. Two black-suited guards materialized, seizing Marisol's arms, yanking her backward as her tray clattered to the floor, champagne foaming across the white linen in a spreading stain, while she twisted free enough to sign again. Faster. "You are enough." Her eyes locked on Lila's. Henry's face flooded crimson, veins bulging at his temples, and he thundered, "You're Ortega, the one I fired 12 years ago for defying orders, and you dare interrupt my event, ruin my daughter's image?" His hand slammed the table, crystal goblets jumping, wine sloshing over rims. Marisol's voice rang clear, unflinching. "Your daughter begged for help, and I answered," while the guards tightened their grip, dragging her toward the service exit, her heels scraping marble. Henry's fist clenched, knuckles cracking audibly, and he bellowed, "She doesn't need your pity. She needs to be normal, not some freak waving her hands." His words a public execution, the donor's eyes widening, the ballroom's chatter dying to a suffocating hush. Lila surged to her feet, her chair toppling backward with a crash that shattered the silence, every head swiveling, while Henry's eyes blazed into hers, snarling, "Sit down now." But Lila's hands rose, signing one sharp, defiant motion, and Marisol, still in the guard's grip, translated aloud, "Silence is not weakness, it's focus," her voice carrying like a gunshot. Henry's roar chased them as the guards hauled Marisol away. "This is my foundation, my daughter. You will not destroy what I've built." While Lila strode after her, head high, heels clicking a steady rhythm against the marble, pausing only at the threshold to turn and sign once more. Slow and deliberate, Marisol's voice echoing the words, "You can't fix what you refuse to see," before the door swung shut, sealing the chaos behind them. Henry stood alone, champagne pooling around his Italian leather shoes, the donor's stare burning into his back, his phone buzzing with a text from his assistant. USB found in Amelia's safe, labeled, "For Lila, play it," and his hand trembled, thumb hovering, typing, "Delete it," yet frozen, unable to press send. Marisol's heels scraped across the service corridor's concrete as the guards shoved her forward, their fingers digging into her upper arms. Yet she twisted just enough to keep Lila in sight, her hands flashing one final sign. "You are enough!" Before the steel door slammed between them, the clang echoing like a gavel. Lila halted mid-stride, the ballroom's roar muffled behind the heavy oak, her chest heaving with breaths that produced no sound, while her fingers curled into fists so tight the nails carved crescents into her palms, blood welling in thin red lines. Henry burst through the door, tie askew, face mottled crimson and white, and barked, "Get back inside! You're not leaving until you smile for the cameras," his hand clamping her wrist like a manacle, yanking her toward the ballroom's glow. Lila planted her feet, silk slippers skidding on marble, and wrenched her arm free with a force that sent Henry stumbling half a step, her eyes locking onto his, unblinking, while she signed with deliberate slowness, "I am not your prop," her hands slicing the air like blades. Henry's jaw clenched, teeth grinding audibly, and he hissed, "You will obey me, or I'll lock you in your room until you learn," his finger jabbing toward the elevator. But Lila stepped backward, spine straightening, chin lifting, every muscle coiled into a silent refusal that needed no voice. The guards shifted, uncertain, while Henry's phone buzzed again. USB playback started in boardroom, audio clear. And his eyes flicked to the screen, panic flickering behind the fury, yet he snarled louder. "Move, Lila, now!" his hand reaching to grab her again. Lila sidestepped, her gown whispering against the wall, and signed once more, palms open, fingers spread. "Watch the video, Dad." The motion so calm it chilled the corridor, then turned on her heel, walking toward the service exit where Marisol had vanished, her footsteps steady, unhurried, each click a verdict. Henry lunged, fingers brushing the silk of her sleeve, but she slipped through the door before he could seize her, the latch clicking shut behind her, leaving him alone with the echo of his own ragged breathing and the phone screen glowing. "For Lila, when she's ready." He raised his fist to pound the door, knuckles whitening, yet froze as the muffled sound of Lila's heels faded down the stairwell, the silence that followed heavier than any scream, while the USB's audio leaked faintly from the boardroom speakers. Amelia's voice, soft, pleading, "Promise me you'll let her sign." Henry's fist hovered an inch from the steel door, knuckles trembling, the muffled echo of Lila's heels already swallowed by the stairwell, while the phone in his other hand pulsed with the assistant's third text. Audio looping in boardroom, Amelia's voice clear, "Let her sign, Henry. Promise me." And the words clawed into his chest like shrapnel. He spun on his heel, tie flapping, and strode toward the boardroom, the ballroom's applause bleeding through the walls as donors toasted his visionary foundation. Yet every cheer grated against the recording, now seeping under the door. Amelia's whisper, 12 years old. She was laughing when Mari taught her, "I love you. Don't take that away." Henry shoved the boardroom door open, the oak slamming against the wall, and the projection screen froze on a grainy frame. 9-year-old Lila, pigtails askew, hands forming a heart toward a younger Marisol, whose smile radiated warmth Henry had ordered erased. His assistant, pale, stammered, "It auto-played from the USB, sir, labeled in Mrs. Voss's handwriting." But Henry silenced him with a raised palm, eyes locked on the screen where tiny Lila pressed a silver bracelet into Marisol's hand, the same bracelet Marisol had worn tonight, glinting under the chandeliers. Henry's throat closed, the air thick with the scent of Amelia's lavender perfume that still clung to the USB drive, and he lunged for the remote, fingers fumbling, yet the video looped. Lila's small voice, rare and precious, squeaking, "Keep it till I say thank you," before the illness stole her speech forever. Sweat beaded on Henry's forehead, dripping onto the mahogany table as he ejected the drive, the plastic casing warm from the projector, and he clutched it so tightly the edges bit into his palm, drawing a bead of blood that smeared across Amelia's handwritten label. The boardroom's silence pressed against his eardrums, heavier than the ballroom's roar, while the bracelet's image burned behind his eyelids. Marisol's wrist tonight, the same engraved M catching the light as she signed, "You are enough." Henry's knees buckled, the leather chair catching him as he sank, the USB rolling across the table, clattering against a crystal decanter, and he stared at the blood on his fingers, Amelia's voice echoing in his skull. Promise me. A promise he had shattered the day he fired Marisol for daring to teach his daughter a language he deemed defective. His phone buzzed again. Security feed. Lila slipping into a yellow cab. Marisol beside her, both signing rapidly, faces lit by streetlights. Yet Henry couldn't move, the bracelet's memory chaining him to the chair, the first crack of regret splintering through the fortress of his control. Henry's driver idled the Maybach outside the plaza at 3:17 a.m., exhaust curling into the November frost, while Henry sat rigid in the back seat, the USB clenched in his fist, its edges cutting crescents into his palm, and he barked the address Marisol's personnel file had coughed up. Brooklyn, 4th Street, above the laundromat. His voice raw from 3 sleepless nights of Amelia's recorded plea looping in his skull. The car lurched through empty avenues, neon signs bleeding red across the windshield, and Henry's phone glowed with the ASL app open at 3% progress, his thumbs clumsy over the screen as he practiced. I was wrong, the phrase mocking him with every failed gesture. He paid the driver triple to wait, climbed the narrow stairwell reeking of bleach and detergent steam, and pounded on apartment 3B, the wood splintering under his knuckles. While inside, Marisol's shadow moved behind the peephole, her voice sharp through the door. Leave, Mr. Voss, or I'll call the cops. Henry pressed the USB against the door, the plastic scraping paint, and rasped. Play it, just once, Amelia's voice, his breath fogging the metal, yet the chain stayed locked, Marisol's silhouette unmoving, until the door cracked open an inch, her eyes blazing, bracelet glinting on her wrist. She snatched the drive, slammed the door, and Henry sank to the grimy hallway floor, back against the wall, the laundromat's rumble vibrating through his spine, while inside the apartment the video played. Layla's childish giggle, Amelia's laugh, Marisol's patient. Again, slower, each sound a blade twisting deeper. Minutes bled into an hour, the hallway light flickering, and the door opened fully, Marisol stepping out in jeans and a hoodie, the USB dangling from her fingers, her voice low. You fired me for teaching her joy, and now you want forgiveness at 4 a.m.? Henry rose, knees cracking, and signed with trembling hands. I was wrong, the motion clumsy, thumb slipping, yet Marisol's eyes narrowed, recognizing the effort, and she signed back. Words are cheap, show me. He pulled a business card from his breast pocket, scribbled on the back. 10 hours a week, your terms, Leila decides the foundation, and pressed it into her palm, his fingers brushing the bracelet, the engraved M cold against his skin. Marisol studied the card, then him, her jaw tight, and signed, Meet me at the community center, 7 p.m. Bring Lila, no drivers, no security. Before stepping back inside, the door locking with a click that echoed like a verdict. Henry descended the stairs, the card's absence burning in his pocket, and slid into the Maybach, barking to the driver. Brooklyn Community Center tomorrow, 6:30, while his phone buzzed with a security alert. Lila's tracker pinging from an unknown address in Red Hook, the cab's license plate captured on grainy footage. He stared at the screen, the ASL app still open, and practiced the next phrase. I will learn. His reflection in the window fractured by passing streetlights, the first thread of a bridge he had no idea how to build. Lila slipped through the service gate of the Voss mansion at dusk, hoodie shadowing her face, the prepaid burner phone in her pocket buzzing with Marisol's text. Center basement, door code 09, and she keyed it in, the lock clicking open to reveal a stairwell lit by a single flickering bulb, the air thick with chalk dust and children's laughter. Downstairs, the Brooklyn Deaf Community Center pulsed with life, folding tables ringed by kids aged 6 to 16, their hands flying in a riot of signs. Hungry, play, more. While Marisol knelt among them, correcting a boy's clumsy, thank you, her own fingers guiding his into perfect form, the bracelet on her wrist catching the fluorescent glow. Lila hung back in the doorway, heart hammering, yet a 7-year-old girl spotted her, tugged Marisol's sleeve, and signed "Pretty Lady Watching," prompting Marisol to turn, her face softening as she beckoned Lila forward, signing, "Join us, assistant teacher." Lila hesitated, then stepped into the circle, shedding the hoodie, and the children swarmed her, fingers brushing her gown's leftover silk from the gala, signing "Princess, Dance," while she laughed silently, knees bending to their level, teaching them "brave" with a fist over her heart. Marisol handed her a dry erase marker, pointing to the whiteboard where a half-finished story waited. "The Girl Who Spoke with Stars." And Lila seized it, drawing swift constellations, signing each one's name. The kids copying eagerly, their laughter vibrating through the floorboards into her souls. A teenage boy rolled in on a skateboard, signing "Late, Mom's Shift," and Lila caught the exhaustion in his eyes, pulled a granola bar from her pocket, pressed it into his hand with a gentle "Eat," the gesture mirroring Marisol's earlier "You are enough" in the ballroom. Marisol filmed the scene on her phone, not for leverage but for memory, capturing Lila's hands weaving stories, the children leaning in, their faces alight, while the basement's single window framed a slice of Brooklyn night, sirens wailing distant yet unable to pierce the cocoon of signs. Lila paused mid-story, noticing a corkboard plastered with thank you drawings, stick figures with speech bubbles of hearts, one labeled "Miss Marie and Mystery Helper," and her finger traced the crayon lines, eyes stinging, realizing the helper was her, the girl who had vanished from mansions into this underground haven. Marisol signed from across the room, "You belong here, not in cages," and Lila nodded, chest expanding, the mansion's marble corridors shrinking to a bad dream as she returned to the children, teaching them home with hands crossing over her heart, the word blooming larger than any foundation gala. The session ended with the kids stacking chairs, signing "See you tomorrow." And Lila lingered, helping Marisol erase the board, their shoulders brushing, the bracelet silver cool against Lila's wrist as she signed, "Thank you for seeing me," the words no longer a plea but a vow. Henry stepped into the basement at 6:47, coat collar high, the folded business card soft in his pocket, and the door clicked shut behind him, chalk dust swirling as Lila and Marisol turned, Lila's eyes narrowing, Marisol signing, "He came," bracelet flashing. Henry raised trembling hands, signing, "I was wrong." The motion stiff, thumb slipping, yet Lila's gaze softened a fraction, and she signed, "Prove it," fingers slicing air. He slid the legal folder across the table. Lila Voss, co-director, full authority. And Marisol flipped it open, scanning, signing, "10 hours, my rules," while Henry nodded, signing, "Agreed." Smoother now. Lila circled, stopping inches away, signing, "You learn with us." Eyes daring refusal, and Henry held her stare, signing, "I will," the plastic chair creaking as he sat. Marisol slammed the ASL beginner book down, Lila correcting Henry's wrist on "Hello," guiding until the sign flowed, the clock ticking past 8, the room emptying, their shoulders brushing in the quiet. Lila's fingers grazed Marisol's bracelet, signing, "Why keep it?" And Marisol answered, "A girl said wait for thank you," eyes flicking to Henry. Henry's breath hitched, the USB video burning in memory, and he pulled the drive from his pocket, placing it between them, signing, "Amelia's Secret," hands shaking. Lila seized it, Marisol plugging it into the projector, Amelia's face flickering. "Check the insurance. Victor's name." The whisper freezing the room. Henry's chest caved. "Victor." A punch, and Lila signed, "Mom's accident," fists trembling while Marisol rewound. He asked for the brakes. Silence swallowed the basement. Lila's palm slammed the table, folder jumping, and she signed, "We find proof." Eyes blazing, Marisol nodding, Henry rising, signing, "I help." The USB now a key unlocking a buried grave. Victor Lang emerged from the mansion's service elevator at dawn, keys jangling, The polished shoes that once clicked across Henry's marble, now scuffing the community center hallway, and he shoved open the basement door, the hinges shrieking, while Marisol and Lila froze mid-sign over the projector's glow. Victor's gloved hand snatched the USB from the port, the drive vanishing into his coat pocket, and he snarled, "You dig where you don't belong!" His voice gravel scraping concrete, eyes locking on Lila with the same cold calculation he had used 7 years ago when he loosened Amelia's brake line. Lila stepped forward, signing, "Give it back." Fists clenched, yet Victor backhanded the air inches from her face, the wind of the swing ruffling her hair, and he hissed, "Your mother learned silence the hard way," the threat landing like a slap. Marisol positioned herself between them, signing, "Touch her and you're finished," her bracelet catching the projector's beam, while Victor's lips curled, and he yanked a manila folder from under his arm, photographs spilling across the table. Lila sneaking out, Marisol teaching, Henry practicing signs, each image a noose tightening. He tapped the top photo, Henry's clumsy, "I was wrong," and sneered, "Blackmail material Mr. Voss will pay to keep his perfect image," his fingers crushing the corner until the paper tore, the rip echoing like a warning shot. Lila lunged for the folder, nails scraping cardboard, but Victor twisted away, elbow slamming the projector, the bulb exploding in a shower of glass that rained over their feet, and he kicked the table leg, sending chairs crashing, the room plunging into darkness, lit only by the emergency exit sign. Marisol grabbed Lila's wrist, pulling her behind the overturned table, signing, "Stay low," while Victor's silhouette loomed, phone flashlight slicing the gloom, and he whispered, "Insurance paid $50 million. Henry never asked why," the confession dripping venom. Henry burst through the stairwell door, breathless from the climb, signing, "Victor, stop." Yet the butler spun, flashlight blinding him, and laughed. "Too late, old friend. The girl knows too much," his free hand sliding into his coat, fingers closing around something metallic. Lila's eyes widened, signing, "Gun," and Marisol shoved Henry sideways as Victor's shadow lunged, the basement door slamming shut behind him, the lock clicking with finality, leaving the three trapped in the dark, with the echo of a threat that had waited 7 years to surface. Henry's shoulder rammed the basement door, the lock groaning but holding, while Lila's fingers flew over her burner phone, texting the center's janitor. "Open service hatch, now," and Marisol dragged the overturned table aside, revealing a rusted floor grate that scraped open with a metallic screech. They dropped into the crawl space, knees sinking into decades of dust, the air thick with mold and the distant rumble of subway trains, while Henry's flashlight beam cut through cobwebs, landing on a forgotten maintenance ledger wedged between pipes, its pages yellowed yet intact. Lila seized the ledger, flipping to the date of Amelia's crash, and there it was, Victor's looping signature beside "Brake service deferred, per management," the ink smudged as if wiped in haste, while Marisol photographed each page with her phone, the flash strobing like gunfire. Henry's breath hitched, signing. He logged it, his hands shaking so violently the beam jittered across the wall, and Lila traced the next entry. Insurance writer added, "Beneficiary V. Lang," her nail scraping the paper until it tore. Footsteps thundered overhead, Victor's voice barking into a radio. "Seal the block. They're rabbits in a warren," and Lila signed, "Roof access," pointing to a ladder bolted to the brick, its rungs slick with condensation. They climbed, Henry's suit snagging on bolts, Marisol's bracelet clinking against metal, and emerged onto the tar roof where Brooklyn's skyline bled orange with dawn, the city's pulse vibrating through their souls. Lila hacked the mansion's cloud back up using Henry's stolen credentials, fingers dancing over the burner, and the screen filled with deleted emails. Victor to an offshore insurer, accelerate payout, accident staged. Each message time-stamped hours before Amelia's car plunged off the bridge. Marisol downloaded the chain, encrypting it to a micro SD hidden in her bracelet's clasp, while Henry signed, "Call the board," his face ash gray, yet Lila shook her head, signing, "Not yet, we need the original policy." Victor's helicopter blades chopped the air above, searchlight sweeping the roof, and Henry yanked them behind an HVAC unit, the metal warm from the rising sun, while Lila pried open a vent, signing laundry chute to garage, Victor's office. They slid down the aluminum tunnel, landing in a heap among starched linens, the scent of bleach stinging their eyes, and sprinted to Victor's desk, drawers slamming open until Lila's hand closed around the original insurance policy, the beneficiary line screaming Victor Lang, 50 Serenurser. Henry photographed the signature, the flash illuminating Victor's framed photo with Amelia, his smile too wide, her eyes already afraid, while the helicopter's roar grew closer, the roof access door above rattling with Victor's fist. Victor's boot kicked the office door inward, frame splintering, and the helicopter's downdraft blasted papers into a cyclone. Yet Lila stood unmoved behind the desk, the original insurance policy raised like a shield, its 50 Boermeller's beneficiary line glaring under the fluorescent glare. Henry stepped forward, signing, "You killed her." His hands no longer clumsy but forged steel, while Marisol's phone live-streamed to the Voss AI board's emergency channel, the red record light pulsing like a heartbeat. Victor's gun rose, barrel trembling, and he snarled, 50 million bought silence. Henry paid without asking, his finger whitening on the trigger. Yet Lila slammed the policy onto the desk, the impact cracking the glass top, and signed break logs, emails, your signature, all streamed. The office monitor flickered, the board's faces materializing. Shock, fury, one woman already dialing legal, while Victor's eyes darted to the screen, the gun wavering, and he lunged for the keyboard, fingers smashing delete. Yet the cloud backup mirrored every keystroke in real time. Marisol's voice cut through the rotor noise, calm, lethal. 7 years of payouts, offshore accounts, Amelia's blood on every deposit, her bracelet cam capturing Victor's face as he realized the stream had gone public. Frieder, Voss murder trending within seconds. Henry signed, "Why?" The single word a gut punch, and Victor laughed. Manic. She was cutting me out of the will, said I'd taken enough, his confession spilling like poison, the gun lowering an inch as sirens wailed closer. Lila circled the desk, signing Mom recorded everything, and pressed play on Victor's own office recorder. Amelia's voice, faint, terrified. Victor's in the garage. He has the wrench. The timestamp matching the crash hour, the room freezing colder than the helicopter's wind. Victor's knees buckled, the gun clattering across tile, and he clawed for the window. Yet Henry blocked the path, signing for Amelia, his shoulder checking Victor into the wall, the impact rattling frame patents. Police boots thundered down the hall, radios crackling, and Lila raised the policy overhead, signing justice. The document fluttering like a white flag of surrender as officers swarmed, cuffs snapping around Victor's wrists. The helicopter peeled away, searchlight dying, while the board's feed showed resignation scrolling, the foundation's name already rebranded in the chat, Amelia Voss Center, and Lila's eyes met Henry's, signing. We finish what Mom started, the truth no longer buried, but blazing across every screen in Manhattan. Victor twisted free of the cuffs with a hidden key, elbow slamming the lead officer's temple, and lunged through the shattered office window onto the fire escape, metal groaning under his weight, while Lila sprinted after him, policy pages scattering like confetti in the downdraft. Henry vaulted the sill, coat ripping on jagged glass, signing "Stay back." Yet Lila ignored, her slippers skidding on rain-slick iron, the city 30 stories below yawning open, sirens dopplering upward. Victor reached the roof, kicking the access door shut behind him, the bolt sliding home with a clang, and Marisol arrived seconds later, shoulder ramming the steel, bracelet clinking against the handle, while Henry's fingers bled, prying the hinge pins loose. The door burst open, Victor already at the ledge, helicopter spotlight pinning him like a moth, and he spun, gun raised again, barrel trained on Lila's chest, snarling, "One more step and she falls with me." Lila stepped anyway, signing, "You already took her life, not mine." Her hands steady, the wind whipping her hair into a dark halo, while Henry circled left, Marisol right, the rooftop gravel crunching under their shoes. Victor's finger tightened, sweat beading despite the cold, and he barked, 50 million bought 7 years. I'll take the secret to the grave. Yet the spotlight shifted, revealing news drones circling, live feeds beaming his confession to millions. Marisol edged closer, signing, drop it, her voice calm over the rotor wash, and Victor's eyes flicked to the bracelet. Amelia's last gift to Lila, now Marisol's talisman, his gun wavering as memory fractured his resolve. Henry lunged, tackling Victor's legs, the gun discharging into the night sky, the bullet sparking off the helicopter skid, and Lila dove, fingers closing around Victor's wrist, twisting until bones cracked, the weapon clattering over the ledge. Victor roared, elbows smashing Henry's jaw, blood spraying, yet Lila hooked her arm under his, leveraging his weight toward the edge, gravel cascading into the void, while Marisol grabbed Henry's belt, anchoring them all in a human chain. Victor's shoes scraped the parapet, his coat flapping like a broken wing, and he locked eyes with Lila, whispering, she begged me to stop, the confession barely audible over the blades, before his grip slipped, the city swallowing his scream. Lila's knees buckled on the gravel, Victor's scream still echoing off the glass towers, yet Marisol hauled her upright, signing. We need the original recorder, fingers digging into Lila's arm as Henry wiped blood from his split lip, the rooftop swarming with SWAT shields glinting under floodlights. Henry pointed to the ventilation shaft Victor had climbed earlier, its grate dangling by one screw, and Marisol wedged her shoulder inside, flashlight beam slicing darkness, while Lila followed, the metal duct cold against her palms, the air thick with pigeon feathers and rust. They crawled 20 feet, elbows scraping, until the duct widened into Victor's private server room, racks of blinking drives humming like a hive, and Henry's hand closed around a black voice recorder taped beneath a shelf, its red light still pulsing. Amelia's final message, untouched since the crash. Lila pressed play, Amelia's voice trembling through static. Victor's cutting the brakes now. Garage camera 3. Send help. The timestamp matching the police report down to the second, while Marisol ejected the micro SD, slipping it into her bracelet's hollow clasp, the click swallowed by rotor noise. SWAT breached the roof door, rifles raised, yet Henry lifted the recorder overhead, signing, evidence. Don't shoot. His voice hoarse as he shouted the same, the lead officer lowering his weapon, cuffing Henry's wrists only to escort, not arrest. Marisol live-streamed the playback to the precinct feed, Amelia's plea looping across every squad car screen, while Lila photographed the server logs, Victor's offshore transfers, each labeled Hush, the flash strobing like judgment. Henry's phone buzzed inside the evidence bag, the board voting unanimously to freeze Victor's accounts, the foundation renamed mid-call Amelia Voss Justice Fund, while Lila signed Mom's Voice Lives. Tears cutting clean tracks through rooftop grime. The duct behind them rattled, a final drone camera emerging, its lens capturing the recorder's serial number, broadcasting to millions. The clip already viral. You're sure Amelia speaks trending as Lila pressed the device to her heart, the vibration of a million shares thrumming through her ribs. Marisol sealed the bracelet, signing locked forever, and Henry nodded, blood crusting his chin, the three of them descending the fire escape together, the city lights below no longer cold, but ablaze with the truth Amelia had died to protect. Lila strode into the Voss AI annual gala at 8:03 p.m., recorder clenched in one fist, micro SD bracelet on the other wrist. The ballroom transformed into a global live stream stage, 10,000 faces on the Jumbotron, while Henry and Marisol flanked her, SWAT escorts melting into the shadows. She mounted the podium, the same spot where Henry once paraded her as a silent prop, and slammed the recorder onto the marble. Amelia's voice blasting through every speaker. Victor's cutting the brakes now. Garage camera 3. The timestamp freezing the room, champagne flutes trembling in manicured hands. Henry seized the mic, signing simultaneously. My butler murdered my wife for 50 million. His hands no longer clumsy but fluent, the translation banner scrolling across the Jumbotron in 12 languages, while the board's emergency vote flashed. Victor Lang terminated, assets seized. Marisol activated the bracelet projector, Victor's offshore transfers cascading down the screen like digital blood, each hush payment linked to Amelia's crash date. The audience gasping as Amelia Speaks surged past 1 billion views. Lila raised the original insurance policy, tearing it in half, the halves fluttering to the stage like white flags, and signed Mom's voice ends the lies. Her hands blazing under spotlights, the crowd erupting as the destroyed document symbolized every silenced truth. Henry dropped to one knee, signing, I ignored you both, tears cutting through gala makeup, and handed Lila the CEO gavel, the wood warm from his grip, while she struck the podium once, the crack echoing like a verdict. The Jumbotron split-screen live NYPD footage, Victor's arrest replaying in slow motion, his scream muted, cuffs glinting, while Lila signed the new charter projected behind her. Amelia Voss Center for Deaf Innovation, Lila and Marisol co-directors, Henry Voss Learning Fellow. Donors surged forward, phones aloft, pledging millions on the spot, the gala morphing into a justice rally while Lila leaned into the mic, Marisol translating her signs into a voice that filled every corner. Silence was never empty, it was waiting. Henry signed the pledge on screen, his fortune redirected to the center, the transfer complete before the final applause, and Lila pulled him into a hug, Marisol joining, the three of them framed by the Jumbotron's new logo, Amelia's smiling face, hands signing, I love you. The lights dimmed, the crowd chanting, justice, and Lila signed one last time to the world. We speak now. The bracelet's clasp clicking shut forever on the evidence that toppled an empire and rebuilt a family. Victor's trial opened at 9 a.m. sharp, the courthouse steps already packed with reporters and deaf advocates waving justice for Amelia signs, while Lila entered the witness box. Recorder on the stand, Marisol beside her as interpreter. Henry in the gallery, hands clasped white. The prosecutor pressed play, Amelia's garage plea filling the chamber. Victor's cutting the brakes now. The jury flinching as the timestamp synced with crash cam footage. Victor's silhouette hunched over the wheel well, wrench glinting under fluorescent tubes. Victor's lawyer rose, objecting chain of custody. Yet Lila lifted the torn insurance policy, halves taped together, beneficiary lines circled in red, and signed he cashed 50 million while Mom burned. Marisol's voice ringing clear, the objection overruled with a gavel crack. Henry took the stand next, signing, I paid him to stay quiet. His confession streamed live to the Foundation's new transparency portal, the gallery gasping as offshore accounts scrolled. Every hush transfer, time-stamped to board meetings he had chaired. The jury foreman stood after 4 hours, verdict form trembling, and declared guilty, murder one, conspiracy fraud. The words echoing off oak panels while Victor lunged, cuffs rattling, screaming, she was going to cut me out, before marshals dragged him through the side door. Lila met Henry outside, signing, it's over. Her hands steady for the first time, and he signed back. No, it begins. The 50 millimeters insurance payout already wired to the Amelia Voss Center, the check countersigned by both co-directors. The judge sealed the evidence, recorder and micro SD locked in court archives, yet Lila wore a replica bracelet, empty clasp now engraved. Truth. The original retired to the center's lobby case beside Amelia's photo. Press swarmed, microphones thrusting, but Lila raised one hand, signing, court spoke. We listen. Marisol translating, the crowd parting as the three walked out together. Victor's screams fading behind steel doors. Henry paused at the bottom step, signing to the cameras. Every cent redirected, no more secrets. The Foundation's live ticker showing real-time donations, eclipsing the insurance sum within minutes. Lila squeezed his arm, signing Mom's free, and the courthouse bells tolled noon, the sound vibrating through her soles like a heartbeat finally at rest. Justice no longer deferred, but delivered in full. Henry resigned as CEO at 7:00 a.m. the next day, the announcement flashing across every Voss AI screen worldwide, his signed video looping. I failed my family, now I serve it. While the board, already purged of Victor's allies, voted unanimously to convert the entire company into a nonprofit trust, the market value of $42 billion redirected to the Amelia Voss Center. Leela and Marisol co-signed the charter in the old gala ballroom, now stripped of chandeliers, folding tables replacing linen, deaf children testing prototype haptic gloves that translated sound into skin pulses, their laughter vibrating through the marble. Henry arrived in jeans, no tie, carrying a beginner ASL workbook, and knelt beside a 6-year-old struggling with friend, guiding her fingers until the sign clicked. The girl's grin wider than any stock ticker he had ever chased. Marisol unveiled the first product line, wearable translators that rendered speech into real-time sign projections on any surface, demoing it on Henry's palm, the word sorry glowing in light across his lifeline. The room erupting as investors pledged another $100 million on the spot. Lila cut the ribbon on the new research wing, the scissors engraved for Mom, and led Henry through labs where engineers, half-deaf, half-hearing, collaborated in total silence. Whiteboards filled with diagrams no voice could interrupt. He funded every Brooklyn community center with Voss AI satellites, each roof now solar-powered, each basement a node in a global deaf innovation network. The old mansion's garage converted into a brake safety lab, teaching teens to inspect vehicles, Amelia's wrench displayed under glass. Nightly, Henry taught ASL to former executives in the repurposed boardroom, their ties discarded, hands cramping as they spelled accountability. While Lila live-streamed the classes, the viewer count climbing past 10 million, donations pouring in with every corrected sign. The center's lobby installed a haptic floor that pulsed with donations, every dollar a vibration under visitors' feet. The louder the giving, the stronger the beat, children dancing across the tiles, feeling wealth turned into welcome. Henry signed the final document at midnight, transferring his last personal shares, the pen scratching like a heartbeat, and Lila countersigned, Marisol witnessing, the trio sealing the trust with a 3-way family sign, the gesture now the company's new logo. Outside, dawn painted the skyline gold, the city awake to a different Voss empire, one built not on silence but on the language Henry had once forbidden, every brick vibrating with the hope he had finally learned to speak. Lila stepped onto the United Nations General Assembly stage at 10 a.m., sharp, 25 now, blazer sharp, jeans grounded, the vast hall silent except for the rustle of translation headsets, Marisol at her side interpreting, Henry in the front row, hands already signing in perfect rhythm. She raised her palms, the haptic gloves on every delegate's wrist pulsing her first words into skin. My mother was murdered for speaking truth. The vibration rippling through the chamber like a collective heartbeat, the jumbotron projecting Amelia's final smile behind her. Lila signed on, Marisol's voice soaring. Silence is not absence, it is focus, and today every nation will feel it. The gloves translating into 193 languages. The floor itself vibrating with the pledge Henry had funded, $1 billion for global deaf tech access, signed into UN resolution before lunch. Henry rose, joining her on stage unscripted, signing, I once built walls. Now I build bridges. His hands fluent, the audience of world leaders mirroring the gesture, the first time ASL had ever echoed through the GA. Lila unveiled the final prototype, a neural lace that let deaf infants acquire sign before speech, the demo baby on screen giggling as Mama bloomed across her tiny palms, delegates applauding with open hands, the universal sign for Bravo. She turned to Henry, signing dinner at the center, 7 p.m. Your turn to cook, the invitation public, the jumbotron flashing the new family portrait, Lila, Marisol, Henry, the bracelet now split into 3 matching bands, each engraved, See Me. The session closed with every delegate signing the UN Charter in ASL. The document projected larger than life, the vibration floor beneath the podium pulsing. We hear you in Morse, the soundless ovation shaking the marble. Back in Brooklyn that night, the community center basement glowed with string lights, Children teaching Henry to flip pancakes, batter splattering his apron, while Lila and Marisol judge the shapes, heart, star, justice, the laughter vibrating through the tables. Lila raised her glass of orange juice, signing the final toast. To the waitress who saw me, the father who learned to look, and the mother whose voice never died. Henry and Marisol clinking glasses, the room erupting in a wave of cheers signs. Outside, the city skyline carried the new Voss AI logo, three hands forming, I love you. And every billboard pulsed the lesson in haptic light. The loudest revolution begins with the quietest sign. The loudest revolution begins with the quietest sign, seeing someone not as a prop, but as a person, and choosing to speak their language. What walls of silence exist in your life? Share your thoughts, your stories, your own moments of being seen or seeing others in the comments below. We read everyone. Thank you for joining this journey of justice and hope. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next story.